Good God. Thank the Lord. That race is done. Oh God, what was that race? What was that? Oh, welcome to another episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. This race was just all over the place, and not in a good way. You know, like when a race is all over the place, usually it can mean that it was a great race. There's a lot of stuff happening. There was a lot of stuff happening, but it was more like WTF, what's going on? But before we get to the All-Star race, we have to talk about what happened in the All-Star Open and the 4 drivers that advanced their way into the main event. It started out as a complete mess. I mean, I think we could say a bit of a shit show at the beginning, just a little bit, because we have to understand, at the beginning of the Open, the track temp was 145 degrees, the hottest it has been all year. That caused the racetrack to be extremely slick, almost like ice even to the point. I mean, there were caution after caution after caution after caution right out of the gate. And there was a lot of action even at the beginning. So, the restart for round number 1. Reddick fires off. He's the leader, but Chris Buescher beats him to the line. Now, according to the rule book, Reddick fired off, but Buescher beat him to the line. On a restart, that would be okay. But on the initial start of the race, the leader, which is Reddick, must come across the finish line first. Buescher came across the finish line first, so as a result, Buescher got penalized and had to perform a pass-through. Luckily for him, the first of many cautions in round 1 would take place when Bubba Wallace got loose and spun in the middle of 1 and 2. Didn't hit anything, but did bring out the caution, and that saved Chris Buescher because he was able to take the pass-through on pit road instead of, when the track is green, and he would have gone 1 lap down. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also had a pit during that caution due to him receiving damage from this moment between him and Corey LaJoie in turn 1. And speaking of Stenhouse, getting into more issues on that restart after the Bubba Wallace spin, on that same restart entering 3 and 4, Stenhouse drives it in hard into 3 and 4, sideswipes James Davison. That puts his car in an awkward position. He slides up and then slams into the left side of Chris Buescher, spinning him. Then restart again and another caution. Same incident, 3 and 4. This time Eric Jones underneath Chase Briscoe. Jones gets loose, spins right in front of Daniel Suarez, who makes contact with him with the front end of his car, and both crash and both are out of the race. I mean, that's what, 4 or 5 cautions, and I'm pretty sure we were under caution for maybe 70% of round 1. To the point where, after 5 minutes, we were already near the end of round number 1. We had a 2-lap shootout. Now, the driver there that was out in front, you had Tyler Reddick, who led the entire way through. To his outside was Ross Chastain. Now, Chastain had to start at the rear due to an inspection failure, and he somehow survived all the carnage behind him and was able to move his way up methodically to the front of the pack to get ready for a 2-lap shootout to hopefully make his way into the All-Star race. And he did a really good job at doing that. Holding that outside lane, was able to side draft Tyler Reddick at 1 and 2. They bang a couple times on the back straightaway. Reddick would clear Chastain right off of turn number 4, but leaves the outside lane still open. Chastain is able to side draft, suck Reddick right back into his hands, and Reddick was able to enter turns 1 and 2 to take the lead, and he would steal the round 1 win and advance into the All-Star race. Round 2 was a hell of a lot calmer than round number 1. You had Reddick lead the field to green, Austin Cindric and Matt DiBenedetto 2nd and 3rd. 2 drivers were on the move, and that was DiBenedetto and Almirola. DiBenedetto made a very bold pass on Austin Cindric, driving right down, right above the apron, entering turn 3 to take the 3rd spot away, or the 2nd spot away, I should say, and Eric Almirola, who gained 7 spots since the beginning of round number 1 to make his way up into 3rd place, and both were charging down Tyler Reddick. After a good battle between then DiBenedetto and Eric Almirola, it probably lasted maybe 1.5 laps or so, Almirola jumps into 2nd place and starts charging down Tyler Reddick tremendously with a bit of help from lap traffic, but Reddick was ultimately able to hang on and he would win round 2. Luckily for Eric Almirola though, on the 10-lap shootout, he would start the race in first and he would finish the race in first. He led every single lap in round 3 to lock himself into the All-Star race, and Matt DiBenedetto won the fan vote. So Yeah, again, here's a look at the 4 drivers that advanced their way into the All-Star race. Chastain wins round 1, Reddick round 2, Almirola round 3, and DiBenedetto wins the fan vote. Overall, that you can't really get an idea how the All-Star race is going to play out because 2 things. Number 1, the All-Star Open are much shorter sprints, and they're a compromise of drivers that are around mid-pack compared to the All-Star race, where it's clearly the front runners of the NASCAR Cup Series. It's a lot shorter, much shorter sprints, and on top of that, it's in completely different conditions. With the Open, it took place around late afternoon, early evening, or in transitioning to the evening. The All-Star race, on the other hand, is going to be a lot later to the night. It's going to fall into darkness. The track's going to get a lot more grip. So yeah, you couldn't really get an idea for the All-Star race based on the Open, but I can say the Open left me with very mixed feelings. First, it was completely trash just because we couldn't get more than a lap of racing without someone wrecking. And then we got no action. There were, outside of that incident in round number 2 between DiBenedetto and Austin Cindric, I don't think we saw really any racing, just the field really spread out. So we start off the All-Star race with a very unique introduction. Now, usually when the drivers do the pace laps, you'll have the commentators ask really dumb questions, now usually when the race starts or during the pace laps, you'll have the commentators ask really basic questions to a driver before they start a race because they're too lazy to do the whole starting lineup. Well, what Fox and Texas decided to do to hype it up is have like this sort of impromptu mini concert with Sammy Hagar. Now, I'll be honest, I had no idea who he was until I heard him sing I Can Drive 55. Then I was like, oh, okay, I know him, but if he played any other song, I'd be like, who is that? Who is that guy? But yeah, anyways, there were some people that liked it. I thought it was just, I thought it was kind of cringe. I'm not gonna lie, I just thought it was like, why? Why are we doing this? Why? Again, I don't mind if you do it for the pre-race, or something like that. But why when you're doing it right before to take the green? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like it. I can see why some people liked it. I wasn't a fan of it. I can see why some people liked it. But again, it was one of many WTF moments with this race. Now, I will say this about the racing. It was good if you didn't know the package. If you didn't know the package and you just tuned in, the restarts. Here's the thing with the All-Star race. Majority, I feel like the racing was good because there were so many restarts. There was 6 or 7 restarts? And keep in mind, these are 10 to 15, there were 15 lap segments. You had one long 30 lap feature, but the rest were 10, 15 laps. So it was very short amount of time, which kept the field very bunched up, especially with this package. It's a 510 horsepower package. And you're going nearly full throttle the entire time. I'm pretty sure drivers are going full throttle the entire stage, except for round 4 or round 5, which had 30 laps. But for the 10 to 15 laps rounds, I'm pretty sure they were going full throttle the entire time. If not, maybe blipping the throttle near the end of each round. So yes, of course, with that, you're going to see a lot of close, bunched up racing. But one thing that was very consistent, even though there was a lot of change happening, one thing that was very consistent, Hendrick Motorsports. It doesn't matter what format you throw at them. It doesn't matter what track you throw at them. It doesn't matter anything you throw at them. They're going to find a way to get out in front and dominate the whole thing. And they did. And early on, it seemed as though that Kyle Busch could make HMS seem mortal, at least very early on. With 9 laps to go, HMS was charging with Byron, Elliott, and Larson up towards the front. Larson takes the lead from Kyle Busch, and Byron is starting to put pressure on Kyle Busch at the same time. As soon as Larson leads, Byron is right there with them. And there was actually a really good battle between the 3 drivers. I think even Kyle Busch even tried to take the lead at one point on the inside lane, to try and steal it back, but Larson with the momentum on the high side, Kyle Busch wasn't able to do so, and he had to slide back in line. Then Byron eventually, with 6 laps to go, he takes over second place. Busch falls back to third. And Kyle Larson wins round 1. Now, with round 2, the top 12 invert. Or was it the whole field? I honestly don't remember. There was a lot of switcheroos. But Blaney would, because of that invert, Blaney would end up starting round 2 on pole. And once again, because with this package, no surprise, the restarts were very exciting to watch. We saw a lot of side-by-side, 3-wide. I think we even at one point saw 4-wide in the middle of the pack. There was even a moment by Blaney when Ross Chastain got into the back end of Blaney, entering turn 1, and Blaney had this big slide. He was able to save it and still hold on to the lead. Again, there were a lot of moments, but majority of these moments happened a few laps at the beginning of each round. Nothing really happened after those few laps. Once, maybe 7 or so laps into it, field started to spread out a little bit. But because there's only 15 laps in each round, caution comes out, bunch them back up together, have a restart that lasts, that will cause cars to be like pack racing for halfway, spread out, caution. I understand it's an all-star race and we're just here for fun. And that's why I was not as, I don't want to say I wasn't as annoyed, because again, it is an all-star race, but I just want to see, I don't know. It's tough to explain. I just want to see a package that doesn't have you go full throttle. That's just me. And have a package that doesn't have every mile and a half act like Talladega. Because that's what it basically was. Almost the entire night, you heard the commentators and the announcers talk about the race as if it was Daytona or Talladega. Look, they would talk about which runs to get, who should fall in line, go to the outside so you could get they were talking about moves like you would think they were at Daytona or Talladega. And again, that's fine if we were at Daytona or Talladega. But yeah, I'm getting off script. Back to round number 2. After that moment with Chastain, Blaney and Keselowski, Penske teammates, they were battling side by side for some laps before Blaney prevailed through and won round 2. Round 3, you inverted again, and you had DiBenedetto, who won the fan vote to make it into the All-Star race, was now out in front. And this time you had Michael McDowell, the Daytona 500 champion from this year, starting to challenge for the lead. Wasn't able to take it, but he did put up a fight for about a lap or two. But again, with the momentum on the high lane, when you're going full throttle, go up to the top side, you get the run off the corner, DiBenedetto hangs on. But because of DiBenedetto and Michael McDowell's battle, that allowed Alex Bowman, who was sitting in third at the time, to be in the mix. He was sort of out back, was able to charge up to the two drivers, and he was now involved in the mix for the race lead, and would actually step up to the plate and take the lead for DiBenedetto with 9 to go in round 3. In the meantime, you had drivers like Blaney, Larson, Hamlin, trying to move their way towards the front, albeit very slowly, because of the accumulative finish, where the driver with the lowest cumulative finish, I believe after round 4, they get the pole for that 30 lap feature in round 5. But again, with this package, after a certain amount of time, around 8 or 9 so laps to go, field starts to spread out. And when you're going full throttle, it's nearly impossible to try and pass. But yeah, nothing happened after that moment with 9 to go. Bowman goes on to win round 3. When round 4 begins, the top 9 invert, and William Byron starts on pole. Byron gets out ahead of Larson, and Christopher Bell, who was able to rebound from an incident when he spun in lap 1, was fall in line in third. Nothing happened in round 4. Byron, once he was out in front, he was gone. Since he already had the lowest cumulative finish heading into round 4, with this win, it just secured him the pole for round 5. So Byron started on pole in round 5. I hope you guys are up to date with everything going on, because I realize there's a lot of talking of inverting and cumulative, and I don't know. I hope you guys can keep up with me on this one, because it was explained. I thought it was explained pretty good on the broadcast, but still, there were times when I was confused. I thought with the inverts and how everything went, I don't know. This race was just a mess, I think, in my opinion, in terms from a broadcast perspective, from a racing perspective. It was just, again, like I said, all over the place, and not in a good way. So yeah, after the short 15-lap dashes from the first 4 rounds, you had the round 5, a 30-lap feature with a mandatory 4-tire pit stop, and it has to be under green flag conditions. Right off the bat, on lap 1, you had Hamlin, Bell, DiBenedetto, Harvick, Reddick, and McDowell pit on lap 1, as well as Martin Truex Jr. Next time by, Kyle Busch, Newman, and Austin Dillon pit. I thought that was very interesting, and I didn't think a lot of people expected that. I thought we would see them take the green flag pit stop maybe halfway into the round, not automatically or immediately on lap 1 or lap 2. Now during that pit road, everything was fairly normal, except for Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, who were caught speeding on pit road, so they both had to do a pass through and would get trapped 1 lap down. Meanwhile, you had Larson and Byron 1 and 2. I think Byron was out in front, Larson second, and Elliott in third. Well, after pit stops, Elliott was out in front of Byron and Larson. The 9 team had a fabulous pit stop, and I believe they had the best pit crew all year long, which is key, especially in this race, because in round 5, the winner, or at least the team with the fastest forward tire pit stop with no issues, so no speeding penalties, no penalties from the pit crew, they win $100,000, and Chase Elliott's team would end up getting the $100,000 grand prize. But again, how this happened was so poorly produced. First of all, Fox didn't even have the decency to put up the pit times, so we had no idea who was the fastest or who had the fastest time. Second of all, this again, the part I don't understand with this pit crew thing is that's taking place during the race. I don't know about y'all, but I was not focused on the pit crew in terms of, oh, who had the fastest time. I was just focused on, okay, pit crew's done, back to the racetrack, who's leading. I wasn't even paying attention to the pit crew. I don't know. The concept is nice that, hey, you're gonna give the pit crew a chance to earn some money, but how it was produced, I mean, no one cared. I mean, there was no, it just happened and you went, oh, okay, moving on. It just happened and nothing, it was just there and you just moved on. I don't know. Bring back the pit crew challenge, would you? Because that was an actually good event, or at least the Unical 76. Just bring back the challenge that only puts the pit crew's spotlight on them. Don't do it in the middle of a race, of a green flag race. No, stop it. But yeah, the final real caution would come out near the end of round 4, I think with around 13 laps to go, I should say. Ryan Newman just jacks up Ross Chastain's tires entering turn 1. Chastain slides, doesn't hit anything, but brings out a caution. And Kyle Busch gets back on the lead lap as well as Austin Dillon, I believe. Looking at that, personally, I don't know how that was a caution. Because yes, he was sideways and there was smoke building, but number one, no one was near Ross Chastain if I'm not mistaken. I didn't see anyone near Ross Chastain, so it wasn't like he was in the middle of the pack. It's not like he didn't fully spin that round. It was sort of a half spin. He was able to gather back up quite quickly, but whatever. In the NFL, they had that whole thing about what is a catch. In NASCAR, we have what is a caution. But it was interesting when that caution came out because Chase Elliott was going to become the race leader because he was out ahead of Byron and Larson, and they were 1 and 2. So after pit stops, Elliott would be the leader. Well, what's interesting is that when that caution came out, Keselowski was actually the leader. He just made his pit stop, and Keselowski just left pit road. He was about to enter turn 1, while Elliott just crossed the start finish line. So Elliott was not that far behind the 2 car when the caution came out, but luckily for Brad, he would become the race leader to set up a 10-lap shootout to end round 5. Elliott and Keselowski would be side by side with each other. Elliott would prevail after getting a push from his teammates Byron and Larson on the outside. Byron, again with this package, Byron was able to get close to him, but couldn't do anything. And Elliott will go on to win round 5. And then the final round comes out, a 10-lap shootout. Arguably, you could have skipped the entire 90 laps and just move on to this because the 10-lap shootout was probably the best thing of the race so far, especially the beginning, because holy hell, Blaney, Larson, and Keselowski, all 3 of them made incredible passes for the lead. Blaney entered it 3 wide as soon as the green flag dropped for the 10-lap shootout. Blaney tried to make it 3 wide underneath Byron and Elliott. Byron gets stuck in the sucker hole. Blaney is able to get side by side with Elliott, but Elliott is able to prevail and get ahead. Larson then on the outside, in turn 3, on the outside on the PJ1, which I don't think had been used that often in the race, made an extremely bold move to get to the outside of Elliott and to steal the race lead. So now you had Larson out in front, and you're thinking, okay, Larson's got this thing in the bag. But Elliott put up a really good fight. Elliott was charging back on Larson. Elliott was on the inside. They were side by side. And they battled so hard that at one point in turns 3 and 4, Elliott slides up. Both Larson and Elliott lose ground. Out of nowhere, here comes Brad Keselowski on the inside. He goes 3 wide, takes the lead, but makes a fatal mistake. He does not come up in front of Larson in time. That allows Larson to get to the right rear corner panel of Keselowski, side draft him, and Larson is able to take the lead back. And by that point in time, the deal was done. I mean, Keselowski's fate was sealed. He would try. There were moments he tried to get back at Larson, but Larson was just way too strong. He will go on to win his second All-Star race in a row. Remember, he did not compete in the All-Star race in 2020. 2019, no, he did win for Chip Ganassi Racing. He led 17 laps, which is his second most laps in the All-Star race. William Byron led the most laps with 30. Blaney led 15 laps. Elliott led 12. Bowman led 9. Kyle Busch led 6 alongside with Matt DiBenedetto, while Brad Keselowski led 5 laps. So, 10 lead changes between 8 different leaders. Here's a look at your official results that are to the left of your screen. Kyle Larson wins, Brad Keselowski in second, Elliott third, Joey Logano, a quiet 4th place run for him, Ryan Blaney, who won round number 2 in 5th, Bowman 6th, Byron able to rebound in 7th, Eric Almirola, a quiet 8th place run. Kyle Busch, after that moment in round 1, he fell off like a rock. I mean, I understand he had that pit road penalty, but still, even before then, Busch just never showed the same speed that he showed in round 1. He did report problems with chattering in his car, but apparently they never really got it fixed to the point where he could become competitive alongside with the HMS guys. His brother Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10, Christopher Bell in 11th, McDowell 12th. Truex, man, Truex, when they're good, they're on it. When they're bad, they're nowhere near it. He finished 13th. I don't think he was even in the top 8 the entire race. He was really bad. Custer 14th. Kevin Harvick in 15th. I didn't hear a single word about Harvick that entire broadcast. All of SHR was just really, really poor. Reddick 16th. Matt DiBenedetto 17th. Chastain 18th. Austin Dillon 19th. And Ryan Newman 20th. And I don't know what happened with Denny Hamlin, but he finished dead last in 21st. So, thoughts on the race? Okay. I didn't think here's a problem again that I have with the All-Star race. And people say, look, was it a good race? It was an entertaining race. I'm not going to deny that. But the fact that we need to go nearly full throttle to get that, it's kind of disappointing. Another thing, I personally think the restarts is what made it exciting. I will admit how they structured it around this package. I think NASCAR and Texas knew that this race cannot go into a long green flag run with this package, because when you're going full throttle, after some time, you're still going full throttle. The field's just going to spread out. You're not going to be able to race if you're going full throttle like at Daytona or Talladega. So they designed it for entertainment. That's why they had 5 of the 6 rounds be less than 15 laps. There's a reason for that. It was built for entertainment. Everyone knows that the best thing from this package has been restarts a mile and a half. Kind of makes sense why a lot of the racing, it was only good within the first 7 to 8 laps of each round. Even look at the 10 race segment, or the final segment. The first 5 or 6 laps were good. After that, Keselowski was there, but he couldn't do anything because you're going full throttle. You can't really do much when you're all going the same speed. So yeah, part of me, I understand why it was clearly manufactured, how NASCAR and the All-Star race format, it was clearly manufactured for entertainment, for side-by-side, 3-wide, 4-wide racing. Clearly. But, and again, it's the All-Star race. It's meant for fun. I get that, but still, there's a part of me that just has a problem with that. I can't really put my tongue on it. I can't really put my finger on it, but I just have a problem with that. How the format was unnecessarily confusing. Once the race got going, I understood it a bit more, but still, I felt like to get to where we were, just to have, Larson, Elliott, those drivers up front again, I think it was very unnecessary to go through all these changes, to go through all the inverts and this and that and everything going on. I don't know. I thought it was very unnecessary. I get it. You need to have a format that forces drivers to race, or that, that keeps the entertainment level up on a high note. But still, I think I don't want this format ever run again. I don't. I really don't. I don't know. Personally, like, for example, next year's All-Star race, number one, I'd give them a package that has a lot of horsepower and low downforce, all right? And I'd go at a track that is not so aero dependent, like Darlington, for example. I think Darlington would be a perfect spot for an All-Star race weekend. But I don't know. I think I just the last 10 laps, that final round, it was very exciting at the beginning. But again, if it was the theme of every other round. First half, exciting. Second half, nothing. But that's just my opinion. Larson, once again, shown that he is clearly the god of NASCAR at the moment, because doesn't matter what you throw at him, the man cannot be touched. He's just unstoppable. Like, I don't understand. How in the hell can you beat Larson? He's won on everything. I don't know. But I've seen on social media a lot of fans seem to enjoy this race, which I don't know how. Like, I don't want to say I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining for a couple laps, but then again, the second half was just boring. There was no racing because the field was spread out. So I'm conflicted with this race. If you enjoyed this race, that's fine. Please tell me in the comments. I'd really like to know the thoughts. If you enjoyed this race, if you didn't, please tell me your comments down below, because I'm really intrigued, because I've seen a lot of people hate it. I've seen a lot of people like it. I don't know whether to like it or hate it. I'm just, this race just left me really confused. Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about this race, but I will say, just get a format that's simple. Just do that. I mean, people always talk about, the All-Star races in, 2009, 2010, early on in those days. They had pretty long green flag runs, or at least, a good amount of green flag laps in each round. And the racing, in my opinion, is way better than the racing we saw today. So, I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, that is going to be it for this episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jett. Congratulations to Kyle Larson. I am confused. I'm going to go to bed. I'm out.